Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to listen up to Menace's Mike Podcast. We rollin'! Yeah!
Yeah. Game time. What's up, people in the world? It's your boy Michael and Menace Johnson coming to you with another episode of Menace's Mike. To my immediate left, I have the light-skinned Greg Jones from West Virginia, Slickville's finest.
I'm from everywhere.
From everywhere?
Everywhere.
Word.
I'm a citizen
East,
of the
West, North, South, Brooklyn. And to his immediate left, our guy Impa, PFL champ. Black man with the cam is what I call him. If anybody wants some story about that, Impa does a little photography in his spare time.
He's a
You
hobbyist?
still do that? A hobbyist?
Obviously, amateur.
Better than a lobbyist, right? Hobbyist, amateur photographer. So I call him Black Man with a Cam. You can tell by his, demeanor. He's black, really black. So I call him Black Man. Impa, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
bro.
thank you for coming on,
Thank
man.
you. I really appreciate it. For the people who don't know you, do you mind giving them a little breakdown? Where you from, born and raised, how you made your way to South Florida, how you became on this journey of being one of the baddest men in your weight division.
Appreciate you, my man. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's always good, doing things with people I love. So, first person in my family born out of Congo. My parents from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Central Africa, Kinshasa. Kasanganay is my last name, and it means friend that'll never leave you. Always pops up. So I'm a Bantu tribe, and that's where we originate. My mom's Maluba, dad's Kikongo. I was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Grew up in South Florida till I was about 12. Okeechobee.
Born here?
Yeah, grew up in Okeechobee. Grew up
All
in
that Congo talk.
Full
You
circle.
from Florida.
Full circle, yeah. So I grew up in like around this area, probably like Lake Worth and Okeechobee, and then we moved to North Carolina, and when I was 12, so kind of like spent some time in North Carolina, then recently moved back here in end of December 2020 to start training out at Kill Cliff.
Yeah, 4 years already.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy.
That's cool. Wow, that is I didn't know you were born here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Okay, so what were you from where you were born? I guess to college. You played a little college ball too. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played college
Tell us
football.
about that.
Yeah, so I started playing football my senior year of high school, and then I started playing in college. So in my culture, sports aren't really that big. Like back home in Congo, it's not like a prize thing besides soccer.
Yeah.
But they always call them like the villagers, though. So education and all that's been big. I played music a lot growing up, and it was always about arts or education. So I tried to play sports, and my senior year, I snuck onto the football team. And my mom came to pick me up, and she found me practicing, and they let me play my senior year, and I said... And then they realized, you can go to college and it can get paid for. So then they were definitely.
You could play and
They
go
could
ahead.
definitely. So yeah, I didn't know much of what I was doing. I was just kind of just running around hitting people. And I went to Western Carolina. I went to JUCO for 2 years, 2 seasons, almost 2 years total. And then I finished at Lenore Ryan University. I played mostly defense.
Yeah. Okay. So free education.
Yeah.
Right.
Grateful.
Nice.
I didn't realize there was so much alignment between your MMA career and your football career. I didn't realize your experience was that short. Tell us about being a kind of a grown man starting a new venture like MMA, and what is it that you identified to help you get to where you're at?
I appreciate it. So for me, my dad would always tell me when I was a kid, impossible is not a thing, right? So it was kind of like ingrained in my head, but I almost took it to like a abstract way where the first.
I'm sorry, to preface that question, Impa has only been fighting for 5 years? 4 or 5 years, and he's elevated to a PFL champ. So I just wanted to throw that out there for background info. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so he would tell me that. So when I was a kid, it's like, I'll never forget, he had a learning center in Palm Beach Gardens. He was my dad was a physicist, a mathematician, engineer, and my mom, she's in the medical field, she's a nurse. So they would always be like, doesn't matter where they drop you off in this world, you could be successful. Don't care if you speak the language, based on their story. And so for me, impossible was never
That's
a thing.
real
So,
shit, yeah.
and it was like, that was kind of the standard at the house. Like, it didn't matter if I didn't understand, I had to understand it soon enough.
Figure it out, right?
Right. And I'm grateful. So when I always like warrior cultures, I like reading about them. I thought combat was always interesting to me, whether it was military or a kid. I wanted to be a mercenary, like a real young age, because I wanted to help people in Congo.
Did you say you want to be a mercenary in Africa?
I wanted to help people. I wouldn't consider mercenaries helping.
Well, that's
I guess they help one
That
side.
sounds like some real
they
shit.
They help one side, and
So my
And
thought
depending on who you ask is the right side, right?
And that was my thought process when I was a kid. I wanted to go military here, finish, and then I read about mercenaries somehow when I was in age. I remember even played a game that had just talked about them, and like the part of the stories of like we're liberating people, helping people, and I always thought like if I can take knowledge from here and go over there and help people and see all the evil going on. And my dad looked at me and he's seen what real mercenaries, like people who are negative, have done. My brain, I just didn't have the perspective that all of them were bad. So combat's always been like a thing to me where I was like kind of like how you can use it to help people. Coming to end of college, I was playing football, but I didn't really want to do accounting. I studied accounting and finance to finish, and it was just kind of weird. So I was like, well, I want to get better at football. Have an opportunity to play in Canada possibly, and they had tryouts coming up, and I started training mixed martial arts to see how I can improve. Well, the guy's like, if you want to pay for your gym membership here, I was pretty much broke college student. I was working at like 26 hours that last semester. I was working at this restaurant. And he said, if you want to pay for your membership, you could just take a fight. I was like, when is it? It was 3 weeks. So I just took a fight. And, you know Cliff, the guy who was at the gym. Yeah, he was there.
Another man with a cam.
Another man with a cam. And I just ran in a circle, throwing right hands, the ugliest thing ever. But I won. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And I was still debating.
You just went and let it fly, huh?
Yeah.
You just letting it fly.
And I'll still do that some days. So I just kind of let that go.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Impa, you sounds to me like you was born in the wrong time period, man. If you had to pick any era to be alive besides this current one, where would you pick and why?
Oh, man. It's funny you asked that. That's kind of how I got into fighting, too. When I was a kid, I prayed I wanted to be a warrior or like a gladiator in another time period. You know, to put the exact year to date, no, I don't know, but like the early hundreds probably. I wanted to hunt and grow and cultivate.
Early 1900s?
No, way back.
Oh,
we wasn't around
early
then. Was it? Like you couldn't be a warrior. I didn't see you never see no black warriors or black gladiators.
That's because they buried that
right,
shit.
Right? It was like,
man.
where was we at
They
back
cut
in
the
these
noses
times,
off
right?
and
Yeah, I
buried
was like,
that
where the
shit.
fuck was we at? And it's just, it's like,
What about you? When would you roam
you
around
know
this
me,
earth?
you
What?
know me. I be in the 70s.
Nah,
man.
you be in the
big ass
60s,
fro,
baby.
60s. Yeah, Jim
Like
Crow
this?
with the big ass fro. Nah, your shit fucked
Like
up.
this?
You did. Nah, my shit be more black. You look mixed with
You said my shit fuzzy,
My
huh?
shit'd be big out like to here, boy. I'm talking like big with a big black power pick in the back.
Across any era, you
Yeah.
pick the 70s.
Probably.
You'd be more 60s though.
I mean, yeah,
you'd be arm in arm with Malcolm and them.
Yeah, with a black
sure.
with a black vest, leather. Some,
For sure.
Some tight ass blue jeans with a bulge sticking out. Yeah, I'd be with some
With a pistol?
With
What kind
of
of
course,
bulge?
a revolver. Yeah, but
What's your bulge?
My me.
Oh,
what you mean?
shit.
What my bulge is? All me, son. That's what my bulge is. But then I would have a pistol like an old school
Dog got
revolver.
a Whizzinator in his pants.
Yeah, like an old school revolver, like a 38 or something, like a 6-shooter. Yeah,
You put that shit in your boot though.
Yeah, I would probably have some big like leather crocodile like tight skin like black ones.
This is off subject, but have you ever seen that black superhero that be roaming the streets with like 38 different weapons on him?
It's a real black superhero.
Oh my goodness, you got to pull that up, Ben. There's this
let's
dude. He
try to
got
talk about
katana
it.
swords. He got the knife on
Oh,
the
I have
fingers.
seen this guy that runs around with
He
swords.
really got like 40 weapons on him. He looked like Blade.
Yeah, I think I have seen that. I think Impa would be a good superhero.
That's what I'm saying. All you need is that
Yeah.
trench coat.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that-
Mercenary.
what's it called Black Panther, the coordinates for Congo?
Yeah. Really? Yeah. Mercenary, could you take a man's life? Back then, could you have do it? Maybe, but now,
Hey,
could
you don't know who you fucking with, man.
I know. Could you now?
For the right reasons, yeah.
Yeah, for the right
Impa
reason.
might got someone in his trunk right now.
Oh, tied up. And everything. Yeah, right. That's because that's one thing you would have to be okay with. It's like physically taking somebody's life away.
Well, see, like there's a doctor, he got the Nobel Peace Prize, Dr. Denis Mukwege. He was he saved a girl's life. You know, she's from Congo, and like these different like the bad mercenaries and people came through, right? And they raped her. They drug kids, and they would have them rape their families. They'd bring them back to the village. You wouldn't even know who you're killing, but they would just kind of mess with people's minds. Like if you read about like what goes on in Congo and other parts of Africa.
Who what? what European country or countries is involved down in there and all that
It was
today?
Today. Belgium.
France?
Belgium's still involved.
Belgium,
France is still
France.
involved. The States are involved. China's involved. I mean, you go,
States are always
yeah,
involved.
there's so many countries,
Yeah.
And they took a bayonet and shoved it up the girls, lower region, right? And that for me, when I was a kid and I read about stuff like that, I was like, okay, like I could till this day,
I could kill somebody like that.
yeah, and
do
they've
some
been
shit like
many
that.
people.
That's
So I just
kinda
want to set
fucked
it up, help out a lot of people. My mom always tells me she wouldn't be as proud of me with fighting or anything if I don't use it to help people. So ideally, it would be cool like to build hospitals or just places back home, and that's it. Like the titles are cool, the money is cool, but that's what matters most to me.
It's a vehicle, right?
Yeah.
It's just a vehicle to get to a bigger prize of what you want to do. And I think ultimately for all of us, that should be somewhere in alignment of improving and enhancing other people's lives. And I think that's central. I don't think I know that's central to who you are, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
So you jumped in the UFC pretty quick.
6-0.
6-0, yeah. Well, I made a deal to my parents. So after college, I was working at what's called Avid Exchange doing accounting, and I was gonna start my CPA process. And only reason I took that job is so I can continue to practice fighting. And I was I was 19. I started there, intern. Then I started working like when I was in college, and then I finished, and they were giving me like a promotion. But I'd always leave early to go to this gym where I started at. Started like a health and corporate wellness program there. And they were like, "Well, you can't leave and go to training, like anymore. We don't want you to be in these meetings." And I thought about it, looked at them, like, "Well, I thought you said I still could," and I just left. And I was like, "I'm gonna go work at this grocery store and start bouncing and focus on fighting," because I always prayed that like that's what God called
You
me.
big ass dude work at a grocery store, man.
You see him bagging groceries?
Bagging groceries.
Need help
I
to your
be
car,
looking at
man?
that
Tight ass pants on and shit. Little apron.
Harris Teeter. And I told my parents, I said, if I'm not in the UFC in 2 years, I won't. Oh, that's my deal. I will go back and get my CPA, and I won't look at fighting. I mean, I was gonna probably still train, but I wanted to fight in general. I thought I was gonna go to like Europe and do their accounting system there, like in London, do underground bare knuckle fighting. That's what I was Googling. I didn't realize there's this path to get to the UFC. And Jimmo was like, why don't you just focus on getting to the UFC?
Jimmo.
That's where I started.
Ryan Jimmo.
No,
Oh.
Jeff Jimmo.
Oh, I thought you said, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I was like,
Barbarino
wow.
fights out of there. The guy Gerald just.
Oh,
he
yeah,
used to
yeah,
fight
yeah.
out of there when I was there. Scott Holtzman was there. John Salter came in. Joe Selecki's there now.
No, I remember. Y'all had a little crew then. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Kind of in and out. Nobody was. I was the only fighter there, and a guy named Ricky Rainey fought in Bellator a little bit, but everybody just kind of come in and out of town,
Yeah. Michael, question for you. It seems more prevalent in the UFC, guys picking up the sport. I don't want to say late in age, but in their 20s. Why is MMA one of the sports that you can do that in? Like, for example,
I have no idea. And
it's very common. It's very common.
I think because
You're not going to do the NBA, NFL that way,
how
right?
accessible in gyms. There's an MMA gym in every corner. You can go do jiu-jitsu over here. You can go do it over here. But I don't understand why the sport itself is so open to the public. Like, oh, you've been training for how long? Oh, 6 months. Oh, you can know how to throw a punch and a kick. You can wrestle. We'll get you 2 or 3 fights. And then like they get an opportunity, or somebody can just have no experience at all and come over to the MMA world. Like, just like you can't do that in any other sports.
It's wild.
You
Yeah,
can't.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I can't go down to Miami and say, "Hey, I used to play college ball. I've been working with Tony Villani up here. Can I like come out on the field and
Yeah,
show you
no.
guys what I've been working on?" They'd be like,
What?
"Man, you get the fuck out of here!" Like,
No, I think about that a lot too, because like I said, we hear about it. It seems like so much, but I think a lot of it too is guys hit a certain point in life, and they gotta figure something out. College didn't work. 9 to 5 is iffy. But I don't know. It's something that's really fascinating about acquiring skill that late.
maybe I
and
guess it's a
developmentally,
good
you
and a
know?
bad thing, because it gives people that opportunity for, like, I wouldn't say a second chance, but like to be better at something else. Like, oh, this didn't work out. Oh, maybe I can go try to fight. and then they'll have to figure it out. Like you see a lot of guys actually trying to be fighters because they think that's
That's
like
a good way
thing.
to put it.
Yeah,
That's a good way to put it. They're trying to make themselves
Yeah.
into a fighter because it's either that or something else not good.
yeah.
You know what I mean? What sport do you think transfers the best? Obviously, no, not counting wrestling. Transfers the best for MMA. What provides the best background?
We take wrestling completely.
We're
out.
gonna take wrestling out of it because that's kind of is right.
Yeah.
Kinda,
So I guess you can stick to like the main sports. I guess I'd say football,
probably so, huh?
just because of the footwork and the
Lateral movement,
and the agility and everything you have to do, and
the contact. There's a lot of
contact.
there's all kind of UFC champions on the NFL sideline. For you NFL guys out there, I'm sorry, you're just not tough enough to do it. That's the bottom line.
yeah, you can fucking run into each other at car speeds, but they can't really get punched.
Well,
that
it's the
much.
ego part.
Yeah.
It's the ego part. It's jumping into something new and getting your ass kicked for 6 or 12 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that those type of athletes have a
Yeah, it's
struggle
tough. And people can't like really bounce back from tough situations. Like our guy Impa, which I really want to get into and talk about your UFC stint, you know, maybe, and I'm just speaking just off me, you know, maybe you were a little too green or maybe started too early and we're just kind of picking up things as you went. And, you know, you had the bullshit, you know, knockout.
You can pull that up, Ben.
Fuck, you want to watch this shit? I mean,
You can pull that up.
I mean, you just held his fucking leg too long. That was it.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
And
You said he did this is not, man. Let the foot go.
Just let the fucking foot go. Yeah, and that's what it, and that's something off of like an experience thing.
Impa Kasanganay knockout.
I think to me, you know,
Buckley?
Yeah, it was Buckley, and that kid went to my high school, you know, so.
Buckley did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's younger than me.
We
Went to
finna
my
get
high
him back
school.
though, huh? We
Yeah,
finna get him back
we
with
finna get
yeah.
back with Luque. But to go from such a viral knockout to what you are today, like explain that a little bit to people and understand, guys, like MMA fans in the MMA world is one of the most disgusting worlds you could ever
It could be
fucking
finicky,
step
yeah.
foot in. And if you are on the bad end of a knockout, like Impa, I'm sure you caught so much shit and you couldn't open up your fucking Instagram without seeing it, or you couldn't open up any social media. You probably couldn't even talk to somebody without it being brought up. And I'm just saying that. But to be able to block all that off, revert your mind into something else, and then just build because you had to build so much. You got cut from the UFC. You probably didn't know where
Did you have one more fight after that, or that was it? Two more fights. Okay.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay, yeah.
But still.
Okay, so then at a point, then you get cut from the UFC. Probably don't know where you're gonna go in a promotion. What promotion? What does it take for you to just like forget all that and just get back to what you need to get back to and rebuilding pretty much or building?
Yeah, for me, it's my faith and how my parents raised me. Like I told you, like I said in the beginning of the interview, my dad always told me, like, it doesn't matter where they drop you off in the world, be successful. My dad actually came to that fight. It was the first time he ever cornered me. And it was cool. So it was during COVID, Fight Island. And so everybody see the knockout. So we go in the ambulance, and my dad, we're just talking in the ambulance just like this, you know? That's where we're going. And it's so dark, kind of that there's that, you've been in the desert, like it's like kind of the way the moon or whatever reflects off was kind of like in a different planet almost. I said, don't worry, Dad, I'll finish the next fight. He's like, I expect you to. And he goes, don't come home if you lose. And I was like, I got you.
Shit, I've been there.
Yeah, and it was like a thing, right? And he said, I said, all right, cool. Just said, thank God, you know. Buckley got a good kick. I mean, I don't think it was lucky. I don't think it was that. I think, like you said, there's experience part, and then me not responding like I needed to.
No, it was well executed.
Yeah,
it was well executed.
And that was it. Like I told people, I said, like, you know, by faith, everything works together for the good of those that love God. That's what he said. And I just knew it was going to work out. Like, I didn't think that it was over. I didn't think that my life was done. I just want to get back to work. That Monday, I was back in the gym, and Jim had to push me out. He's like, you probably shouldn't train. I was like, I feel fine. They said, I'm not concussed. He's like, you probably are concussed. And for me, it's just like, that's what, I think what happens is, well, especially the football players, like playing college football, these guys look at everything like a sport. Like I can yell at you, but you can't do anything.
Yeah.
But in the MMA gym, you yell at somebody good too many times at the right gym, in the right place, they get popped in the mouth. Football guys just talk and talk and talk. And
Yeah, I saw you.
I've been guys in
That's funny,
JUCO.
yeah.
JUCO guys, I mean, a lot of them were different, like, but for real, we're down to go. But it was just.
But yeah, they definitely got a
Yeah.
little chip, right?
Yeah, they were a little bit different. There were some guys that I was just around, but they were just like some guys. A lot. I have a group chat of how many guys are dead. 4 of my roommates got killed during JUCO. Like, you know,
Well, I think JUCO, they get to a point where it's like, I ain't got shit to lose. I was at that big D1 school. I couldn't make it. I get down to JUCO. Now I'm like a little fucked up in there.
that's what you see. And
You want to take a look at that clip real quick?
We passed this. So you ain't even with us.
no, I was at gym all the time.
All right, that's nuts. Fucking nuts.
That's a good kid. But I think what you see, I think when it's on the negative side, it's obviously harder to control than on the positive side. But in the grand scheme of things, that was one moment. It was 1 second. And that 1 second, whether it be positive or negative, should not define us as fighters and as of men. And I think you do a really good job of taking a broader approach to this, to where a lot of your identity isn't tied up into winning and losing, isn't tied up into into a MMA fighter. You know, you have different outlets, you enjoy working different jobs and things like that. How crucial is that to explore things outside of fighting, to your growth and development?
But yeah, I believe you should always be learning. Like I can't, you be my trainer, my coach, or teammate too. Like I can't really say I'm willing to learn from you if I'm not willing to learn in other areas of my life. I think guys in gyms, like trainers or older fighters, get upset when guys don't want to learn, but they don't even have like the basic skill set to learn. Not because they can't, because they won't. And for me, like
It's a behavior, right?
behavior, yeah. And
Yeah,
like,
you
if
gotta
you just don't
practice
know
it,
the
yeah.
behavior, like saying thank you. Like you ever give somebody something, you give them something, and they just never say thank you.
That's my biggest pet
Right.
peeve.
And you're
That's
not-
one of the big motherfuckers. We don't say thank you. Like,
Right, and you're not doing it to say, you're not giving them something for them to say thank you to you. You just give it to them because usually at the kindness of your heart, you want to see them do better, but you recognize like why they're not growing themselves because they don't learn that behavior of saying like appreciation or gratitude.
yeah.
So for me, like I really enjoy learning. Like I start back school April 17th. I'm grateful. Going to Harvard Business School's like online program, and that's gonna like give me credit towards the MBA. Like I take guitar lessons still. I got back into music and I do photography online. But it helps me think and practice because like I'll just think about something. Oh, like this relates to this. But also I can watch you. I'll watch you. Oh, like that's how he throws his left hand. That's why he does his kick like this. And you start like practicing different things. You're using different motor skills.
So you're telling me what you just said is you're taking lessons you learn practicing the guitar and drawing parallels to mixed martial arts fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an example of that? That's
Music,
quite fascinating.
Music's probably the best. So like I grew up playing music. Music was my first major in college. I went to art school up here in West Palm Beach, and it's always about like that tempo changes, rhythm changes. Talk about wrestling, you always say slow and
Yeah.
fast, right? We talk about if you're always going, you always say if you're always fast, are you fast at all, right? So in music you have like a crescendo, especially when boxing. If you ever see mitts, it's not the same cadence. It's not the same. It's like in order to even knock somebody out, usually it's not. It's like 1, 2, faint, 2, 3, 2, and the person's out or something, right?
Yeah.
And you always learn in music how to catch the rhythm and find it. Like that's why I've noticed when I don't do well is when I stop moving. But when I'm moving well, it's like I can feel like okay, like this is where I'm having fun. It's just like music and like you're improvising as you go. But if that's static, and sometimes there is that time like those long pauses in music where you just need to kind of like get heavy. We're talking about wrestling. Or just kind of sit, stand your ground.
As they say, that's where the beauty is. There's something in music, right?
Music is
Between the
space-
sounds. Yeah,
between the notes. And I always had it ingrained in me. It was kind of the first thing. Like everybody grew up playing sports. I'm usually around. I grew up playing music. So for me, music was like that was the thing. Yeah, and I mean,
Not really.
No, I know.
I played tuba,
You would think,
trombone,
right?
sang choir,
Like all this
guitar,
shit you call like nerd in like school.
I wish
when we
I
were
could do it right
young.
now.
They're the coolest motherfuckers ever this day and age. Like the fucking rock stars and the actors, and all they're cool. Everybody wants to be them, but then nobody want to be them in high school. Like you motherfuckers are nerds, bro. And then nobody thought like they're gonna grow up and make millions of dollars and be all over the fucking
They'll be
place.
hit
They'll
at
be
the frat party.
Y'all, they'll be the coolest fucking people
Bring
ever.
a guitar out at the party, man.
Yeah.
Shit.
I appreciate art, you know. That's for me. It's like everything's kind of its art in its form. And then I think that the sad part about fighting, we talked about this, like people tell you not to, well, take it back. I think education is very important, especially being African and African American, black overall. There's a time when it was illegal. Yeah.
That's some shit, yeah.
Right? And then like you grow up going to high school and let's say you're in good classes, and it's like, oh, you just want to be like everybody else. You're talking white, this, all that. And it's like, why is that a thing? But then when you see somebody who looks like us, they're doing well. Look at that person being so successful. You know, I mean, conversations they had to have with themselves. People are literally getting lynched and all these different things because they were just trying to read a book. And then I come over here and it's like, because I fight, I'm not allowed to go educate myself anymore. I kind of go I choose to go against that. Like I can't. We've had these conversations, you know, one-on-one. It's important for me. And then it's because there's gonna be like we see like it was cool today right after wrestling. Richie and Ansar, the Chechen kid, were going. But you see, he grew up fighting, and he has all these different things. He's 18 years old, but you're like, man, he's going to be awesome when he's 25, so long as he stays healthy, right? But he had that education system. Nobody banned him from it. They instilled it in him. Now he's here. But all the opportunities you can get. My dad and mom came here because of education, right? And it changed our lives and their family lives. My dad brought his family over. So then I'm just going to kill that, right? Because I don't want to learn because I can fight. I feel like every man should be in a fight. Everybody should learn how to fight to a certain extent because you'll have, I think you have a different kind of respect for people. You'll have something about yourself, but that's just one form of learning. And then we go around and we say we want to be successful. And then how many times you see a fighter get to the end of their career and they have nothing? When you could have just taken that same time, applied it to a podcast like you're doing now. They could take it and go to school. I think usually fighting is like your scholarship, right? Because like I think
that's a beautiful idea.
Yeah, because I can go to fighting and think like I could ask for more money and all these different things. I know how I'm looked at. I know I get it. Oh, he's not going to talk shit.
Yeah.
He's not. He's going to be this nice black. Okay. And he's black. I get it. And then people are like, oh, you're bringing the black and white. I'm not. I'm just saying. It's like, I get what I'm saying, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to be so successful. Outside of this, you can keep whatever you want because you're not going to buy me. And before you know it, might take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but I'll only be, 33, and I'll still be able to fight. I know I'm going to keep getting better. I'm at a great gym. I have great trainers, great training partners. But in that meantime, it's like, imagine you're making $300,000, $500,000 a month, $2 million a month. Because you educated yourself, your family's good, and then what they're gonna come at you with a crazy contract for? It's like I was at Barry Sanders who wouldn't celebrate going in the end zone.
Yeah,
and someone, I think it was maybe him or someone, like, I treat it like a hobby. Like if you can treat it like a hobby, but you want to be excellent in all that you do, fatherhood could be a hobby, life could be a hobby, friendship could be a hobby. But I want to be so excellent at this, so that's why like I want to work. I love to train. It doesn't mean it takes away from it, but I'm not gonna be one of those people who sits that in my career like, dang, I could have done all this. Like for me, like. I'm figuring out how I can do like remote accounting consulting roles. You know, once I finish this process with the Harvard Business School, like I really qualify for a few. You're making $400,000 a year, plus you're fighting, and it's on your schedule and you're working from home. I could be on a fight trip, and all I have to do is answer 3 questions. Like people, we had like fighters, like people's like I eat, sleep, and dream this. But if you really look at somebody's overall schedule, before and after training, they don't eat, sleep, and dream none of this. It's just they show up to the gym.
I couldn't live like that either. Me personally, I couldn't be all wrestling all the time. Right. It'd be like doing permanent isometrics, and I would gas myself out.
It's tough. I get what you're saying because when I first came down to Florida, it wasn't a thing where it was like, I want to fight and be this fighter, but no, I was like, I need to do other things. I need to figure out some business avenues and what I want to do and get into acting and slowly getting into that. But it's so hard at a point to find people that were willing to either group with you or kind of work with you and build. Now, it's changed. Don't get me wrong. I feel like I'm a fucking old guy every time I talk about like when I first started fighting in this. When I first came out of Florida, I wanted to get into other like businesses, but then there was so much training. And there was so much, oh, no, you need to do this. And I'm young at the sport, and I'm hearing guys, oh, yeah, it's good, but no, focus on fighting, just fight, and worry about that after. And I'm like, nah, not really, because like I'm going to use the fighting for a stepping stone, and if I worry about it after fighting, it might be too late. Like I'm looking up now, I'm fucking 37. It's like, well, I kind of a little waited, but now I'm playing catch up a lot with myself just because I waited or I had like a second thought on some things, I
think if there's a subtle adjustment we can make broadly, and more generally, that, you know, we have more time than we realize.
No,
you know what I'm
it's plenty
saying?
of time.
And I think as Impa is saying, that I think it's a great opportunity to just stack experiences on top of each other and evolve as a total person. A lot of these gyms, a lot of these promotions, they talk about fighters first. They take care of the fighters. When I think the appropriate approach probably should be, not probably, person first. You as Michael Johnson is primary. You as Impa is primary. How are we handling that person? And then Shilobo and the Menace kind of happen secondary. But if we're not leading with developing the right type of person, I think we're missing the boat. Especially in a gym as diverse as Killcliff is.
Yeah, well, I think also MMA is such individual sport, and I quote individual right there, because it could be a team sport, but at the end of the day, you're in there by yourself, you know. So, but it's just like wrestling. Like, you need your team. Like, we need our coaches, you know. But I just think guys are so in tune in that they don't need to worry about that. Like, oh, they worry about themselves. They're such like a selfish game almost.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I don't think it should be or has to be.
No, it shouldn't. But it's one of those. It's one of the things where it's always been this way, and will it ever change?
I mean, even if you take guys inside a gym, you've seen guys go through camps where they decide to kind of pull themselves out of the group practice and then go over in the corner and like do their own thing. That has never worked out for anybody.
No, it doesn't.
That has never worked out for anybody. So, I mean, it's definitely a group effort. You don't step in there alone. No one really steps in there alone. It's just, I guess, it's a matter of having the right people, you know.
Yeah, I think that's important. Like, any company that's ever been great, you'll see, like, the founder, the CEO who's done it. But even Google, AvidXchange, where it was, Microsoft, they'll show the main person, but they didn't do any of it on their own. So for me, it's like none of them, like, people, you can give this person all the credit in the world, but you always realize the greatest companies always had a team. Like, any great ministry, any great business, any great idea, artist, like, there's so many things that played a factor into it. And I think, like you said, like, for some reason, fighting is perceived as a, like you quote, you're by yourself in there.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes with it, like so many thoughts. Even the thoughts, like sometimes fighters lose fights not because the person's bad, their brain is not there.
I've lost a few of them just because I fucking think of something else.
Just
my
that,
brain in
right?
here, and
Just
you're not focused. And home life has to be. I mean, perfect is hard to get in anything, but it's got to be damn near as perfect as you can.
Manageable.
As it can be.
Manageable.
Manageable, but like fighting's a different. Like if you go in the gym, you fight all day, you're going into a fight, but your home life is like turmoil.
No, it's true.
Yeah, like it's
That's
not
true.
gonna work out.
I used to think about that a lot in college. Like, it's really hard. It's really hard to be a D student and an A wrestler. I mean, you just can't. There's no way to separate the two, you know?
Yeah.
What's that old saying? The way you do one thing is the way you do everything, right? And I think like you want your home in order. You want things that you also want order.
Yeah.
And like the Scott Holtzman used to tell me that, okay, every issue you have going on right now, we're gonna write it down. You put it in a box and you lock the box. Once you say whatever day camp starts, that's the day you put it. You put the stuff in the box. You don't address it. You tell everybody you gotta put things in order. And I can tell you how much that helped at first. You know, like everybody's doing family stuff. And then after the fight, you sometimes would open the box again, and you're like, oh, this is already handled. And then you realize you start to learn that things do work out. And you realize, like, I didn't need to address this. And sometimes we put more weight on things because it's within ourselves. But like you said, like your home order. But it's interesting, too. Like you see a lot of people, like how they have teams and married or something, like maybe like if their spouse, you know, then they're doing well. You see, oftentimes you see, even outside of fighting, even in other businesses, like it produces more, right? There's always like a team. But a lot of people, I think, which is something I've run into in my career where I've had people think like it's all about them, right? And I always say, like, for me, it's not a look, I'm grateful team title. It's a team title. It's a team, like I couldn't have. I texted him when I first got here. It was Coach Jones, and I was like, hey, he's like, hey, yeah, I'd love for you to come train here. I've been looking forward to teaching you. And he gets on me, right?
Yeah.
That's what you need. Where somebody can be like, whatever, and just what my dad always say, you know, what I'm really mad is if I don't talk to you, right? And that's a bad place to be because then like you don't have any direction. That's not a place to be. Dieter, like you see how we joke a lot, talk a lot, but I swear I've never been cussed out by anybody more in my life. But it's like we're going back and forth because we're both like, no, I want to be this much better. But you have all these people, and then it's like you get to represent that in there. You get to represent that moment of a culmination. You just get to be the vehicle. I was thinking like, I like military units a lot. You have the guys who breach, you have the guys who just, you have the general who kind of sits back and watches, and this is probably not smart, but you have the crazy ones who are willing just to go. And it's like, they're like, no, we got to pull the reins back, we got to go. That's kind of like, so when someone runs to, it's like, you know, like you probably shouldn't do this today. It's like, I want to go, I want to go. Yeah. And those are the things, but then you also need that crazy one who's going to go because then maybe things do change, right? And then, but it's also having to understand that it's not a blaming thing. It's not a put this person down. It's not just take the whole team apart right away. It's understanding that you're like your family, and family, like you can't change it. The thing I think about fighting is, and what I respect about people we talk about come from like Eastern European countries, I would say. We talk about them getting popular. They see each other's family, and a lot of them are related. They can't get away from each other if they wanted to. They got to make it work out. Yeah. We have too many options sometimes here. Like, I can pick this person, I can switch up my camp. I'm not going to work with you. And I think that's where like failures come from. Like my first, like pretty like stable corner at the gym was Dieter, Jones, Lentz. You know, Delano's always with me, right? But the first fight where that was like, oh, this is the first time together, I lost the fight, right? Eagle. We can go back and forth on whatever the decision was, but on the record, it's a loss. Well, that's the same corner that was with me when I won the title, and I'm grateful. But it's like, what if I was just like, oh, I lost, now I got to switch everything up by probably just be in the same spot I was.
You still be looking.
Right, still be looking.
Yeah,
still be looking. And I think that people just kind of like, you run into something hard, and then they just say bye. It's not that.
We talked about that a lot on here, actually, and the losses and people wanting to change shit and do something so different and everything. And it's like, no, just continue doing what you're doing. You know, maybe
be better.
Maybe what happened that night had nothing. It was completely out of your control.
But sometimes too, I think we overlooked it. You know, shit don't go your way. Sometimes your opponent has something to do with that too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He might have been better and everything. And
but before we, I want to recap Impa's last fight a little bit. But I want to ask you before we get into that. As you sit here right now, you know, projecting forward, where do you see your biggest room and opportunity for growth at? Let's keep this in fighting. As a fighter, where do you see your biggest opportunity for growth?
Man, well, in my response times of my grappling, and if I'm being super specific, like we talked about, oh man, like this was right here, and I started seeing those issues come out even in like training today and other days. Okay,
the transitions.
Right?
Do you think that's a matter of acquiring a skill, or do you think that's a matter of kind of just getting in your own way and perhaps thinking too much and delaying your reactions?
Initially, I didn't think I was thinking too much, and then I realized that I am. Especially after fighting a fight like Johnny, I was like, oh man, here. And then all the excellent grapplers in the gym. Then it's also understand where I just need to go and get up and different things. So you start kind of like, you're almost reminded based on what's already been taught to me, just apply that. It wasn't like I needed, to what we said, like I don't need a new 20 dude coaches who know this. Right. It's like, oh, just stuff the head here. Okay, well, and then even fighting to Don, he's like, hey, you might get taken down, but you're not going to be held down. So what you got to do, just keep fighting to get up. You actually got on me today. That was a bad decision. We got up. Now maybe that was I rolled. I did.
Yeah.
But yes, I got up. But and then it's like, then you take that. Okay, well, if I took that same attitude, like you told me, it's like if you took that same approach of you every day in the gym, maybe it is bad decisions, but you get up and then we keep fighting. So it's like taking that ownership of that. But also now for me, it's that kind of like when you're a kid and you get spanked, and then you're like, okay, you're a little bit more cautious about how you do things. I think I have more sense of urgency now because, not saying Johnny whooped me, nothing like that, but it's like there are parts in the fight where I got whooped in moments, and I shouldn't have never let that happen. And just being honest with myself and doing that. So just how
there's nothing worse than being held down. There's nothing worse. and being fucking held down, and you just trying to move,
Getting
and
punched in
move
the face while you do it.
Yeah, it's just nothing, and it will make you fucking go figure it out.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just gonna sit there and continue to get taken down and held down. Like eventually, you should get sick of it. You know.
Well, that actually happened to me as an amateur. I fought Brian Battle. Interesting enough, he fought
really?
Ange. And he's always grown. You know, he's done his thing. He's been fighting whatever. But at that time, if you think about the experience I had now, that was like months in, and I didn't understand wrestling. I remember we were wrestling one day on the wall. Coach Jim would go, switch, and I got up. I'm like, all right, walking off. He's like, what are you doing? I'm yelling, switch. And I was like, what's a switch? He's like, he stopped class. Like, that's the day I learned what a switch is or about.
Yeah.
Still got to do it better. And it was that. But I remember in the fight, because this is what you need to do. Don't go do this. Well, I was just trying to fight. Yeah. And then that fifth round came around. I was like, oh, all right. And Brian's like, you didn't quit. It's just like, I just didn't know what to do. But that next day in the gym, my teammate Dakota said, we're just going to get on the wall. We're going to figure this out. I want you to hold me down as much as you can. I'm going to get better. Well, that was from that time on, no fights lost. I got into the UFC until the Buckley fight. And that for me was like, okay, well, that was growth. Now what do I need to do now? Much more detail, much more urgent. You're fighting at a higher level. But if you don't go through those trials, you don't go through those moments, like maybe I would have missed it now and it would mess me up in the season. So I just kind of look at it like that. And that's like, you know, that's a question. It's just, all right, that sense of urgency again. It's like, all right, like kind of like smacked in the face. What do you need to do? Been taught this. When I watched the fight, we talked about that fight, I don't know how many hours. And Uncle was like, oh, you knew. And it's like, and then as you're watching it, it's like you almost have like the cheat sheet and the answer in your hand and you're watching like, all right, well, that's what I should have. That's what, and you're, and it's, and then, it's like, well, if I moved here, and then I'm watching sparring rounds from yesterday or the day before, I'm like, why don't you just move like that? You know, it's like you could be able to, like you take all these different reasons out, but it's like you were able to move that way. You know you could have, but you're also excited because you're like, you needed that, so you didn't go into that sense of complacency. And I always thought wins and losses, like I can't take it to heaven with me, right? But you can take other people's souls, you can love people, and that's what's always mattered to me. After every fight, I always tell people they're unconditionally loved. Like no matter what you go through, no matter what you've been, like you're unconditionally loved. And that's my main message, right? So if I have to tell myself that too, like I can get upset about it, and just stop myself from learning because I want to be angry in my room by myself, or we can have the conversations that hurt with your people they call family. And I think that's only developed by sticking with your crew, the ones who ride with you, the ones who go with you. It's like, because you can't just, it's harder to take advice from people you haven't been through it with. I mean, after the UFC, I asked him, I said, man, what could I have done better? Because sometimes you just need a little mud and rain to grow. And it's true, right? It's true. Like I have a garden at home and you just wait for the rain sometimes, or you wet the soil, and before you know it, you're
dirt and rain. You said that to him, Greg? It'd be dirt and rain.
Dirt and rain?
Yeah, because the dirt would turn into mud.
No, I mean, I just probably just said sometimes you got to walk through a little bit of mud to get to the other side. That's all.
Probably said some philosophical Morgan Freeman.
That's it. Sometimes you got to, you know what I mean? Sunshine and rain, man. That's what 50 Cent said too, didn't he?
Sometimes you get a little dirty to be clean. You know what I mean?
Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. Many men. But you fought Johnny. Is it Eblin or Eblin? I still don't know.
Eblin.
It don't matter.
Some people consider one of the best guys, or maybe the best guy in the world, at that weight class. Mm-hmm. Tell the people about that experience and just the fight.
Yeah, I respect him. You know, he's a good fighter for sure. Based on the result, you could say if we call wins and losses, say somebody's better. Okay, but I didn't have to argue for myself, which was cool. People all over the world are saying that I won the fight, and that's a cool thing. But it's also like with that being said, it's not where I seek my validation or anything in life. I want to be better. Right. So whether I won that fight. And they got the W on paper, I still would have been the same upset, you know, because I want to be better. But yeah, I mean, I fought a guy.
Process.
Right. Yeah.
Process oriented.
You know, it's like for me, it's like, what can you do? I remember the Corey Hendricks fight last year. I'm over here tearing up. I won the fight clearly, but man, I was like, I could have finished him, and the coach was like, your head's spinning. Until this day, I'm still mad about it. I was like, what can I do to be better? But it's not that. Like, it's like you don't take the W's, you don't take the L's with you when you die. But it's like you can take those experiences like in your soul some way, right? I think that
I need a little bit of piece of that because my fucking W's and L's are on my back like a motherfucker, bro. I keep him with me because I ain't gonna die for a while. I don't think.
I think it's where, and for me, it's I seek my validation. It's like, what can I make the most out of it? And that's kind of what helps me move forward in the process. It's not that I don't care. A lot of times people will see me as calm, right? So to the Johnny fight, to answer your question, it was just like I never thought of him as this guy that like was this daunting. I've had people say, "Oh, he's a perfect fighter." I've had people say, "This guy this." I heard people say like crazy things, and I was like, "You'll see." But what's cool is like I think that fight internationally, which is whatever people say. I don't know what they saw in him, and not to disrespect him, right? But like I said, you'll just see what I can do. Now I've been told it's abnormal how much you can grow, but I'm like I'm not at a normal gym, right? I don't think I'm a normal person. I'm not going to work in a normal.
You don't have
way.
normal goals,
right? Yeah. And when I got in that fight, I fought him. You know, I came to fight. I made costly errors and mistakes, and like Coach Jones said, there are things that he did well and did good and very well in too. He knew when he got hurt to just grab. I swear, I didn't feel like wrestling anymore. I just felt like he was holding on, which was smart. Like, and he went to that direction. And I didn't make the right decision of maybe stepping off. I was told that in the week, went blank on it. I was told to stay cold. You know, I am the nights when I say like the cool thing about fighting is this, and like you have this opportunity where, as Coach Jude and I were talking, he said, you know, we always say it's us, we, but you know the failure does fall on the fighter. Because the one that actually gets the fight is the fighter. Like you can go like, don't do this spinning back crazy thing. But if you're a fighter and you really work on it all the time and you land that spinning back kick, credit to Buckley or something.
you end up on the internet, yeah.
And his coach might be like, don't you ever throw that. I'm throwing it. And knowing Buckley, he's crazy enough to be like, I'm going to throw it. Like I've talked to him 1,000 times. Like he's cool. Like we're cool. Like I want to help him out. We talk about different things outside of fighting. But I'm just like, he probably was like, maybe one coach was like, I don't want you ever throwing that. Yeah, I'm throwing it. And then all of a sudden you have your great moment. Like he dared to be great and did. And that was like, you know, the Johnny fight was one like that for me. It was like, all these people don't take, you know, like in a sense, don't take the fight, all this, whatever. He's a perfect fighter. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to go dare to be great. Why go to 85? Because like, why not become a two-weight class world champion, a young thing? Like, if I listened to everybody, I woun't even be fighting. I wouldn't get to say here in this conversation. My parents are funny. Like, we told you not to fight? Bad idea. But when we laugh about it. So I said, like to that credit, you know, when I fought Buckley, if everything works together for the good of us that love God, and I do, why would I worry? And then also, too, like, what's somebody going to say to me about a record, right? Like, you can put these fights, these questionable decisions, all this stuff on paper. I don't care, but I would respect Johnny and say this. He said he wants a rematch. Like, let's run it back then. But I'm not running back to get back what was.
I think that rematch needs to be a 5-round fight.
Yeah, I mean, 5 round, 3 rounds.
Sure.
I'm not missing. You know, it's like for me, it's like I'm just not gonna miss. Like if you could tell me we fight right now, fight tomorrow, it's just, I'm gonna go in there and be ready. And it's, I get like all these different things. We try to do all these different stipulations in life, and it's I think sometimes, especially being like who we are, African American men, like just in general, minorities, like sometimes you only get what you get. And you got to make the most of it. I'm not going to sit here and cry. Because, I mean, I could talk about the money. I could talk about this. I could talk about that. But then it means they're just stopping myself from growing. And I think that's one big thing that's made, not just African Americans, Africans, black people in general. I say minorities in general. You talk about women, just anybody who's a minority. Even people who went through it. And I would say even like I want to insult Caucasian males because even people who had less than others, it's always the ones who had less than others who made the most of it. And then those are the ones the stories are written about. And like, give me a year, give me 2 years, 3 years, 5, it'll be a completely different story. And they'll be like, did the fighting pay you or did all this? I'm like, well, my family's good because I leveraged it. And that's what I see. So like when I look at this fight, I'm just like, I got my international respect now. I didn't have to be like, I didn't have to shout it from the rooftops who won the fight. I didn't have to ask Johnny for a rematch. He could have been like, he said, let's do it. So I respect it. And that to me is like, if I never took that fight, if I never flew overseas, all I would be doing right now is waiting for April 12th. And I feel like I would have missed out on a blessing. So they can keep that WL if it makes them feel good. But I know what I did. I know who I am. And when I dropped him, when I heard him, like, you remember me now, right? If that's the best fighter in the world, then it's like, then what about me? And then there's a debate. And I didn't have to talk shit. I didn't have to do that. You just had to just see me show up the same we do in the gym. And now I didn't fight how I would in the gym as well. But that's the cool part, too. It's like I know I could be so much better. And that's all it was to me.
I'm looking forward to that rematch. If it happens. He said he'll get you on, but people talk about
money talks,
shit.
right?
What do you got about money talks? People talk about.
What do you got coming up, Imp? You said April 12th. Kicking off the first round of the PFL tournament. Johnny's back in Bellator. He's not in your bracket, correct?
No, sir. Yeah, Johnny's back in Bellator. I think.
What's the outlook? What's the outlook for your bracket? Have they? It's not seeded yet, right? You'll do round robin.
Right. We have 2 seeding rounds, I guess. Is what it
Okay.
is, in a sense. So, well, no, I guess 1 seeding fight would be still 1 seeding fight, right? First fight, PFL structured. First round finish 6 points. Second round 5 points. Third round 4 points. And if a decision victory, then it's 3 points. So
How do you feel about the season?
I like it. You know, for me, it's like just so many different things. You guys know, a couple of years ago, like I had nothing, right? School, my clients, my business was struggling, and I get to work. When I was in the UFC, credit to the UFC, all the UFC fighters and my friends who are successful there, I'm happy for them. It was challenging for me to even get a fight. Went different weight classes. Now, I probably didn't help myself by losing a fight or two. Like, I'm not saying that, but waiting months and months and months between, like, I'm not here to compare organizations like this is a true world title.
Right.
Like, I'm just like, man, I'm here to work. Right?
But it's nice having bouts scheduled to know when you're gonna fight.
And that's how I like it. It's like, for me, it's like that blue collar work ethic. Like, let me just go and fight. And then people are always gonna have opinions. Like what J. Cole said, he's like, I'm not here to be the greatest rapper. He's like, I would like to be, but I'm always gonna shoot for that. But when you put my name on the list of the greats, I just want to be there because everybody's he speaks to different souls differently. Yeah. Right. And it's like, how, like you said, MMA fans, respect to them. They're finicky. Right?
I don't respect them.
Some of them.
Like them. Some of them. None of them.
You see John Anik pulled his shit back the next day, didn't he?
No, I didn't see what he said.
That was some time ago now.
No, it's the thing of, you said there's so many options, like, oh, he's my favorite fighter until next week, then he's my favorite fighter. Oh, my favorite fighter just lost, I'm going to talk shit on him. Bro, I thought I was your favorite fighter last week. What happened?
Dance with the
oh,
one
well,
you
now
bought,
this
right?
guy's my favorite fighter. But it's funny, like, people will literally talk shit about me or Impa or anything like this, go to an event and take pictures with us and post this. It'd be in the same fucking week or something. I've seen a guy at an event ask me for a picture that I've noticed he was talking shit. I was like, wait a minute, but you look familiar. And he's like, yeah, bro. I was like, you fucking were talking shit at me, now you want a fucking picture? He's like, yeah, I know, blah, 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 this. I was like, I was like, I should say no to you, bro. I really should.
You know what that reminds me of? Hey, Ben, can you pull up LeBron James pulling up on that fan that called him a bitch courtside? You know what I'm talking about?
I'll find it. Yeah, shoot him a message next time so he can look at him before. He pulled up on somebody.
Yeah, there's this couple. Hopefully you can pull it up. But it's
I've seen that.
It's the same
game.
shit. It's the same shit.
Yeah.
They smile and take
like
pictures
how many
with you.
like how many fans have you had? And then I'm sure you probably had the same ones talk shit about the Buckley knockout, but then send you a message or a comment congratulating you on your
next
PFL
post,
win.
yeah.
No, on the PFL win. Yeah, right. It's like
I've seen it. I've never responded. I laugh about things. To my point, it's like I don't seek validation from it. I remember Phil Hawes and I were in an Uber at UFC Austin. He was fighting Deron Wynn. Gregory was fighting Julian Marquez, of course. And Buckley fought in the card. And it's funny. This is hilarious. So I walk out I'm sleeping. The workout room they had an extra bedroom. So I'm staying. I was in Gregory's corner. This room right here is Buckley's room, and I hear this voice. We both walk out at the same time and look at each other. I've probably never laughed so hard in my life. I'm like, this is some UFC stuff going on. And we started laughing, like, how you been, man? Haven't seen you in a while. Since the fight, just catching up. And I remember in the car, Phil's like, how do you watch this? I'm like, it's a moment. But that moment alone, right, this is cool. So I wrote a message, like, after every fight, whether it's to my opponent or whatever, like that moment. Joe Rogan reshared it. It helped grow my social media, and then this business, right? He's like, this is how you respond. And I didn't do it because that's just like how I was raised. If you look at every single post I have, there's something faith-oriented, life-oriented about it. But just how you carry yourself. And I always think, like, there's a reason I'm not shouting N-word or just cussing people out. Like, I could be and doing all these different things to kids because, like, there's a kid who's going to watch me, right? Like, I'm not against drinking, right? I do, right? But I won't, like, be out there posting because if a kid I find out became an alcoholic because of me, because they just followed me and they got hooked on it.
Yeah.
That's
like my responsibility. And this guy used to always tell me, the country guy, it's funny, country folks say something that sticks. He's like,
wisdom, boy.
He
Huh?
country.
He's like, Impa, faith is everything, and you're obligated, but you're not obligated. And I would look at him, but it made more sense than anything because your obligation is to be the best version of yourself and represent your family, your name, your time. But you're also obligated to, like, these kids.
Yeah.
They're going to follow you. They're the reason, right? And what was that, the old basketball club, I'm not a role model. Technically you are, there's some kid who's going to do it, try to do the same thing, act like you, and some kid's going to shoot him. And you really want to let that be associated with you? Say it's not, but if we say we care about humans, but let's say there's a big event in the world that, for example, a terrorist attack or some school shooting, then everybody wants to act like they really care. You got to care on the micro level too, right? You got to care on something how you carry yourself. And Coach Dieter's gym, there are a bunch of kids, right? If I act the fool here up in Deerfield and I go to Miami, I give all those kids the right to follow me and do that. The kids at the Kill Cliff Wrestling Club, kids back home at gym. So I always taken that, and it's like, well, yeah, you talk crap, right? Usually these fans, right, supporters, whatever one can say, or people who don't support, because they just never been through it. Mm-hmm. They never been through something where like somebody has to look at them. They don't have any obligations. They're doing something where they kind of just took the average easy route.
They're just going with inertia of the day. Yeah.
And like, everybody else is doing that. They're followers. And I'm like,
well, that's what our country is.
Right. And if you're that leader, the reason they can only talk on you, they're gonna talk bad about the king. They want to get his head up, put his head on a platter, and they're also gonna want to, when they're around, they're gonna want to ask him for some money. But you gotta just know who you are and whose you are is what I would say. So I know who I come home to. My family, we talk more trash about each other than anything, like having fun.
You does some shit,
So,
yeah.
My sister was like, after the Buckley fight, like everybody
Can't
like,
stand Michael
you
Johnson.
Good? Like, you good? And my sister goes, all right, you good. But that knockout was crazy, right? But it's like when you have that at home and you have the people who you come home to, like, what do these people matter?
So I got knocked out by Danny Castillo, or I didn't get knocked out, I got dropped by Danny Castillo. But then I finished him. I ended up knocking him out in the second round. I got a knockout bonus. And was it around my birthday? It was either around my birthday or I was just coming back home to St. Louis, and we and they celebrated like the win, and they had a fucking balloon with a smiley face on it, and my fucking niece drew a fist. She drew a fist on the balloon, and she drew the eyes on the balloon like going cross-eyed, because that's what happened to me when I got knocked out. Like my eyes just fucking went. I was like, this is some bullshit. Y'all just making fun of me like this. She's like, yeah, but you won. I was like, yeah, I know, I got up. She's like, yeah, if you didn't, I still would have made fun of you. But yeah,
I think what you do though is you take the power away from it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I get made fun of. They made fun when I got kicked in the head by Edson. They made fun of that. I was like, damn, I didn't even know I got kicked in the head.
Oh, you didn't?
So yeah, I did once.
As far as I'm concerned, that didn't happen. I remember you saying something about getting kicked one time and like, damn, that shit hurt.
In the stomach, he's spinning, kicked me in the ribs in the first round. Bro, it was one of the hardest kicks I've ever had in my life.
Still the best performance I've ever cornered.
And I looked at him and went, I was like, I can't fucking make no face. I just keep moving because this hurts so bad, boy.
Those are the cool moments you have, right? Like, you're a dad one day, you've had challenging moments, you're a big brother, uncle, and they look at you like, what was a hard moment in your life? And the beautiful thing about fighting is we get to have many of those in training, in practice, the people you love, the conversation where some people can just go, being in accounting, I've seen it. Clock in, clock out, clock in, clock out. Do the same thing on the same program. It's not like
robots.
Like,
you think about how cool this shit is and the opportunity that's it's provided all of us. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be on TV every weekend. My hometown has 400 people. No one ever leaves. You're from St. Louis. You ain't supposed to be here. Your name ain't supposed to be in the lights. You're not much different. So I think it's just amazing how athletics has provided us this ability to grow and develop our lives and help other people.
Yeah, and that's one good thing about the fight game, honestly, that does give us that opportunity. You know, I told people, I go, yeah, they asked me, why'd you really get into fighting? Like, you want to be a world champion? I was like, yeah, I'd love to be a world champion, but like, no, like my main point was getting into fighting was to travel. See the world. Yeah. I was like, I started in fucking St. Louis. I didn't really go nowhere. You know, we didn't come from a lot of money, so I'm not gonna have the opportunity to go travel. We had to fucking take road trips everywhere we went.
Drive, and I know,
bro, like 13, 14 hours in a car. Like, no, like that's how it was.
Are we there yet?
Yeah, exactly. That's how it was. So I looked at fighting. I was looking at the UFC. I was like, man, they go to all these different countries, all these different states to fight. I go, you know what? I want to get out of here. I want to go travel and see the world. That's my best opportunity to do it.
What else can you do?
That's my.
I get to travel the world on someone else's dime.
For free, and I get to go get paid. I get to go fight, and I get to be kind of, a little, I won't say the word famous, or popular, but, like, cool, I guess. In these other countries,
Right.
you know, I can go out and experience everything.
Well,
like
let's make
Dubai
it a
and-
point to consistently reflect on that feeling.
I always
right
do
there.
every time I go somewhere.
Every time we get
I
down
go
on this,
somewhere.
man, it's fucking gym shit,
Yeah,
man.
no, and that's the one thing when I go out in all these like different countries, like no, it's like I want to go out and see, and like I can't sit in the hotel room.
That's the thing about I feel like going to other countries for UFC events is they're like events.
Yeah,
Whereas if you go somewhere here in the States, it's just another UFC card. But you go somewhere in Europe, man, the people show up and
they
show out.
make it, and they appreciate fighting a little more over there.
It's a little bit,
is
I know what you
crazy.
mean. It's a little bit different approach that their fans take for sure.
Yeah, no, they
Well,
appreciate.
I
it.
think you also don't have as many options, right? Like,
That's the
Perhaps.
thing. You
Yeah,
don't have
and-
any option.
and it's cool too, because I mean, like, there wouldn't be the NFL, there wouldn't be the NBA without the option.
Yeah.
It's just some people can't stand fighting. They can't watch it. They cringe at it, but they can watch an NBA game, and that's their peace and their love. I think we have so much time in life in comparison. Like, even going to Europe, like you go to like the food maybe a little bit different, the pace of
much
life, right?
better.
Depends where you are, right? But I think it's just we compare, and usually where we go, it's like the best places, right? We're like the best experience, the best hotel. But these the people who are living their day in and out, day out life. I mean, I met people who didn't even know who McGregor was. But in our world, if you don't know McGregor, it's like just not knowing the one who's kind of been like a catalyst in it, right?
Yeah.
Or somebody else like you go to. I've been to countries like, and I went to Wales, my favorite place I've ever been to. I read Delano fought Roy McDonald. I rented a motorcycle. ride
Really?
around
You
it.
enjoyed Wales that much?
That's
That's cool.
And it's actually a pretty cool history with Congo. It was a Welshman who found out what was going on in Congo way back in the day when the Belgians were there, and he reported it, and that's how like the story got out what was going on in Congo. So, shout out to Wales. But yeah, I got a motorcycle and just got lost. I would just go all around the country.
That's
And
the best.
I met this lady, and she's like, "What do you do?" Like like boxing, like this, and like, well, and she's like, "Where are you from?" She goes, "Oh, from she's from London, but her father's Irish." I'm like, "Do you know who Conor McGregor is?" She goes, "No, we don't know who that is." I'm like, she asked her dad, she doesn't know. I'm just talking to this family, but they just live their life a simple life. And the motorcycle broke down the last day, and I'm sitting on an hour away from where I had to get to the venue. The guy picked me up, and he just takes me over there. And I ask all these people that's about fighting, they don't know. They're like, I'm asking about social media, like, "Oh, I just want a simple life." But they're living their
You
lives.
see that more in other countries, except
And you see
and
stuff
there's
like
nobody who wants to live a simple life here.
So I feel like when we have big events like fights and things that come up, they just appreciate it differently because they have no other things to really compare it to, and they make it say, "Oh, I like this compared to this." And I think in the United States, even sometimes like people who live here, I hate this country, I want to leave. I'm like,
Go somewhere
go talk
else.
to my parents and go live in Congo.
Go somewhere
you know,
else.
and they go somewhere. It's like, so I think that just there's like a lack of appreciation or respect culturally here for the fighter. Like you can just talk to whoever how you want to, but to another even in Riyadh, people are like, "Oh, bad luck." This I'm like, no, I understand the judge's decision here. They're like, no, like you came and fought. Like that doesn't matter. Like in their heart of hearts, they're telling you this. I heard about even Japanese or Thai culture, kickboxing or things like that. It's like, but then maybe that's what helps us are driven as Americans. We've got to dominate, be on top.
And they
of all
celebrate
kinds
warriors.
of- right? Yeah, they celebrate warriors. And those
That's all they
cultures-
care about is the war, really. And the war is, oh, they did that and did this. So it's good. It's good. Well, Impa, thank you for today. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I really wanted to get into like the faith journey with you, but that shit would have took like 5 hours, bro. We only got an hour episode today. So the next go around, we gonna get back into some of that. Because I definitely want to talk to you about your journey on that one.
No
But I know how long that journey is and how it's going to take. So
Appreciate you.
the next one go around. World, thank you everybody for joining us today. Get Biofuel, Face Meets Fits, Impact Dental Designs. Greg, put your hand down. I'm going to you. What you got to
My
say?
hand went up. His hand was
I
up.
thought your hand was like this. Motherfucker was sitting over here like this.
Nothing. I ain't got shit to say. Coach
Nothing
G.
to
Jones.
say?
That's it. Bang.
Coach G. Jones.
Bang.
Impa, where
Thank
can
you,
the people
Impa.
find you? Shout out some socials. Anything you want to let the people know?
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me on. It's an honor. You both impacted my life in many ways, so it's pretty cool. And I'm proud of you to see what's going on with this. It's cool to see the relationship and the brotherhood, the family.
I still can't stand his
Thank you.
ass.
That's how family is.
Don't
right?
matter. I can't stand me either. Shit.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's inspirational. You can find me on Impa K5 on Instagram, and then Chilobos Trek, which is my fight name, and it's would encourage people to commit to their adventure in life, and just it's something I've really been building. I'm grateful. It's starting to get partner with pretty cool companies, and just through adventure, through life, I think that everybody can read about Lewis and Clark, but you got to go on your own adventures too. and that's whether it's your business or your life, podcast. So there's that, and I always say, talk about the faith journey. You're unconditionally loved, and like if you feel like giving up today, give yourself one more day.
Mic drop.
Love
Yep. Good shit.
Boom. Appreciate it, world. Out.
Appreciate you guys.
Good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to listen